foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through this and see what's behind. Got no way to prove it, so maybe I'm lying. But I'm only human after all. I'm only human after all. Don't put your blame on me. Don't put your blame on me. Take a look in the mirror, what do you see? Do you see it clearer, or are you deceived?
Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the first episode of the Insurance Guys. For agents, by agents. My name is Scott Howell. I am the Agency Owner and Insurance Evangelist for iPROTECT Insurance and Financial Services. And our mission on this podcast is to help you guys in any way we can with your business, with your insurance business, with your agents, your associate agents, your CSRs, running a business. And before we get started, I need to introduce my co-host. He is a thought leader and a practitioner in the world of social media and insurance. He is also a leader in sales within his organization and within his company that he represents, located near Mobile, Alabama. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the incomparable Bradley Flowers. Welcome, Bradley.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me, Scott.
Man, thank you for being here today. I am so excited, and I know you are so excited about this podcast. This is a little bit like Christmas morning for me.
It does. I've been excited all day.
I wanted to do this podcast, and you and I talked about it, and we're going to get into detail about that here shortly. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit about how we got this bad boy set up, because I really think there's a dual, purpose for this particular episode. You know, before we get started, Bradley and I are going to talk a little bit today about how we got in the insurance business. But before we even get into that, I wanted to talk a little bit about how we set this podcast up, because I'm going to be honest with you, Bradley, I didn't find a lot of stuff out there on the internet on really how to set up a podcast. I mean, there was material out on Google and YouTube, but unfortunately for me, I have the brain of about a 4-year-old, so some of it was... Yeah, exactly. So I want to talk a little bit about how we kind of set this up. Now, Bradley is in Mobile, Alabama today. I am in Huntsville, Alabama today. And so we had this thing where we're like, how in the world do we do this without sounding like, he's on the telephone and I'm here? And so here's what we did, and I promise you I'm not endorsing any company, and this is a very fluid process. And as we go through this and get this thing dialed in, I will share with you guys, even on this podcast on YouTube, I'm going to share some of the products that we used and things we've done to get this going. So first and foremost, to get the sound quality that we needed, we used, both of us used a Snowball Black Ice USB microphone. So that is plugged directly into my laptop. And then for the visual, to be able to see Bradley, and I need to make you bigger, Bradley. You're much too good looking to be that small on my screen.
That's right.
Yeah, let me see how to get you bigger here. Let's see. So there he is, full screen. You can see a little bit of me there. So we're using Skype for the visual part of this so that you and I can see each other. And then we're using a program, and you see it right here, guys. It's called Audacity. And I believe that's spelled, Bradley, Audacity. So what I'm saying is going through this blue ice blue mic, Snowball mic, and then Audacity's recording that. Bradley will send me his MP3 file, and then we're going to merge those two together to create the podcast. I know that doesn't sound very complicated, but it was a lot more complicated than I thought it would be. and we'll see how it works. Like I said, it is a fluid process. Yeah. So tell me what's going on with you, man. I know it's been about a month since you and I did our thing down there in Mobile. Let's get started by telling everybody kind of who we are, where we're from, why we're here today, and all that good stuff. Go ahead, and I'll let you go first, and then I'll follow up with it.
Well, I'm an insurance agent in Mobile, Alabama. I'm actually in Saraland, which is just north of Mobile. And at one time, it was one of the fastest growing communities in the country. And as of right now, we have more $100,000 earners per capita than any small town in the country. And so there's a lot of opportunity here. So what I do is I try to do things a little bit differently. I try to market on social media and do the opposite of what everybody else is doing. And I've had some really, really good results with that. And what's come from that is people have contacted me over the last few years wanting help and advice as far as personal branding goes and how to do this and how to do that. And I love helping people. And I think, Scott and I did an interview about a month ago, and I think I stated in there that I'll help my biggest competitor just because I love helping people, but it also helps me improve what I'm doing. And so that's the main reason for this podcast. When Scott mentioned the podcast, I thought that's a great idea. And I love giving back. I love helping other people and helping that guy who was, 21-year-old Bradley Flowers getting into the business that had no direction whatsoever. So that's it just makes you feel good, giving back, especially to someone in your industry. So
absolutely.
I was guns a-blazing as soon as we got this idea.
So, yeah, and so how long have you been with Alpha? How long? And I guess I should have said that in the intro, but you're with Alpha Insurance down there, and we're going to talk a little bit about the different companies later on. I don't know if we'll get to it this episode or not, but so what year did you said 21? You were 21 when you started?
21, right at 21 when I got into the business, and I've been with Alpha 5 years. I'm in my 5th year right now.
One of the things, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this today, and I think you segued into it nicely, but I told you yesterday on the phone, I've had, of about the 10 or 15 people I've told about this podcast, every single one of them has asked me, well, what's in it for you? And that's been kind of surprising to me that that's kind of their first thought. But, as we talked about yesterday, I think I wish that I had someone or had a podcast like this when I started in the insurance business, because I really didn't have anybody. And I've been giving this a lot of thought, but one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is there are so many older agents out there and so many people that are out there in the insurance business that it just seems like it's hard to get anybody to really want to mentor you. You know what I'm saying? That's just always been, when I started, I just remember thinking, I felt like I really didn't have anybody that was going, hey man, I'm gonna take you under my wing, and I'm gonna show you how to do this, and we're gonna do it. And when I started thinking about a podcast for agents by agents, and this is the only podcast that I know of like this in the universe. I don't know that there's another podcast for insurance agents. I mean, there's insurance podcasts, but to my knowledge, they're more insurance based and talking about coverages and stuff like that. But I don't know. I just felt like if we were going to do something like this, I wanted to be able to help, associate agents, independent, especially younger agents that are maybe, struggling right now, trying to make it, get to that next level. And I really wanted to do that because I didn't feel like I had that when I started. Did you feel that way?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's hard to know. I mean, I think, what I tell a lot of people outside of insurance is you have to find the right vehicle, whatever that vehicle is for you. Whether your vehicle is doing something that you love, or doing something that's going to make you a lot of money, or both, or whatever you want to do. And I think that rings true in insurance as well. You have to find the right vehicle, which would be the right company. You have to find the right thing for you, whether that's independent or captive. And I'm just thinking back now to a point in my career. I've been with 3 companies. I've been with Al for the longest. The second company I was with, I learned a lot, but I was in absolutely the wrong vehicle. I was in the wrong situation for me. I would have loved to have someone say, hey, look, you can do the same thing you're doing now and be doing it for you rather than doing it for somebody else.
Right. Yeah, I tell you, getting back to kind of how I got started in the insurance business. So I can remember being in high school, I was always the guy that my friends would put out front and say, hey, go get those girls and bring them over here. And I can remember as early as college, not really knowing what I wanted to do with my life, and people telling me, man, Scott, with your personality, you really need to be in the insurance business. And I always kind of forearmed that and said, no, I don't want to do that, because I felt like it was going to be boring, and it just wasn't going to be something that I was going to enjoy. And I'm going to be honest with you, the industry itself, we don't do a whole lot to combat the boring. And I know if you read these industry publications and they talk about how there's a lack of talent in the insurance business, well, besides it being boring, and besides nobody wanting to help young agents get started, and besides everybody you meet feeling like they're trying to kick you down instead of build you up, it's a pretty damn tough road to hoe. And so for me, I just kind of pushed it away for a long time. I really did. And then when I was in the construction business for about 4 years after I got out of the Marine Corps, and I knew that wasn't for me. I could just tell it just wasn't my thing. But and then I got turned down by agency after agency after agency. You don't have your license. You don't have your experience. Even as like an associate agent with State Farm agents who couldn't pay me hardly anything, a lot of them even turned me down. So, I went and got my license myself and went with a State Farm agent who had really just gotten started himself. And it was a great experience for me. I'm glad I did it. But at the same time, looking back on it, I do probably feel like I would have been a better fit for more of a commercial business oriented agency that was selling business insurance of some kind, commercial insurance. I really out of the gate started selling commercial insurance with State Farm, and that's not really what they do. That's not their thing. I know they sell a little bit of it, but even then, I probably, looking back on it, should have been probably somewhere else.
And it's to each his own too. Like, it goes back to finding the right vehicle. I think you have to find what works for you, because Scott and I are alike in a lot of ways, but I don't like doing commercial.
Right.
I would rather refer that to somebody like him who loves doing it. And one, I know it's going to be done right, but also I've established that referral partner. Mm-hmm. So, and I do some small commercial, but it's not my cup of tea.
Well, and you and I talked about this yesterday. One of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast was to build a referral base from around the country. With people listening to this podcast, and if we help them, great. If we don't, great. But maybe they recognize us and they say, hey, I've got something down in, Huntsville, Alabama. I got somebody moving down there, Scott. Can you write their business? Or hell, vice versa. Maybe I've got somebody moving to, Detroit, Michigan, and we've got somebody that's watching this podcast that I can call and refer somebody to. So that was another reason I wanted to do this. I think that, and now I want to kind of get into a little bit about how many of these young people, and really some older people in their 30s and 40s and 50s, are trying to break into the insurance business. And there's all these choices, and there's all these companies out there, and there are all these sales managers and recruiters, and it's really kind of hard to know if you don't have the knowledge, you don't even know what you don't know. And so you start hearing all this stuff from these different companies, and you're trying to get in it, and you're like, yeah, that sounds great, and this sounds great. What advice would you give to somebody today, and I meet these people every single week, who have zero experience, are studying to get their license, they want to go to work for an agency or be an agent? What advice would you give those people just starting out from ground zero?
The very first thing I would say, the very first question you should always ask in an interview is, tell me about the opportunity. That's the very first question you should ask every single time.
Right.
And then you just use your better judgment with what that manager's telling you. Because if that manager's telling you, oh, well, you can make $75,000 a year, well, and you want to make $250 or $300, that might not be the right. Just make sure that manager, and this happened to me, make sure that manager cannot also sell.
Good advice.
Because in the situation I was in, and I'm still friends with that manager to this day. It wasn't that they were doing anything wrong. It was just we were in a situation where I could write an insurance policy, and my manager could also write an insurance policy. Well, who do you think is going to get the better lead?
Right.
You know,
right.
So that would be my advice from my personal experience. And after I left the first company I was with, which we can get into that, how I got there in a little bit, is I was looking for somewhere. Okay, I want somebody who's going to basically mentor me and help me, and is not going to write business out from under me. In a company that encourages that, you know.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. Okay, I investigated and job dated in the insurance business for about 2 years, and I met with some guys that were uber successful, who had been, 20, 30-year guys. A couple things I'm going to say, okay? And Bradley brings up some great advice. You need to ask about the opportunity, obviously. But the other thing I would do is I would ask about the warts. I would want to know, hey, guy or girl that's recruiting me, whether you're a sales manager or district manager or whatever, tell me about the warts. I want to know about the problems. And I'm going to tell you something else I would do, and I hope somebody out there listens to me, because most people don't. I would want to talk to people who are with that agency or that company, and maybe not just the ones that are the uber successful one that sells, but talk to 2 or 3 different people and kind of get a feel from them. Try to read between the lines and get a feel for them. Like, is this really a great opportunity? And what don't I know about this while you're trying to figure this out? Because, it's, and I hate to say this, but it's a little bit like getting recruited in the military. They'll tell you all the good crap, all the good shit you want to hear. They'll tell you all about it. But there's always things in the job or career when you get in there that you're like, oh, if somebody had told me that, I wouldn't have done this.
Well, and what I would do too, and I did this, is get a copy, try to get a copy, some written numbers, printed numbers of that particular company's production in the area you're looking at going to.
Right.
Now that's probably a little easier captive than it is independent, but that was one thing that I did, and pair that with the person you're talking to. So it's funny you bring that up. I actually, one of the companies I interviewed with back years ago, went and talked to the guy who was the lowest producer in our area, and I got all the bad, and the bad didn't scare me away. It made me know what to ask moving forward. But then I also took those production numbers and paired it with it and saw, okay, this area sucks.
Right.
So you can look at that too. I mean, if such and such is recruiting you and say, okay, let me see your numbers in this area, that can be one of 2 things. It can mean, okay, they have a really bad product in that area, maybe a bad rate, that sort of thing, bad reputation, or it could mean a bunch of opportunity. It could mean, either one. But that's certainly not the first time in your career you're going to have to make a judgment call.
Right.
But I would gather as much data as you can so you can make the right decision. Don't go off of what that recruiter is telling you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I think you got to, like you said, get as much info as you can. You know, one of the things that, you know, every one of these companies that we're going to talk about, Allstate, State Farm, Nationwide, Farmers, Countrywide, hell, even independent agency opportunities, which is going to be more for an associate agent, that's going to be more on the agency owner. But with these captive agencies and people looking into those opportunities, you know, every one of those companies have sales programs. And even if you're somebody getting into more of the financial services end, like Edward Jones,
Right.
I would want to look heavily on, is there a monetary requirement that contractually is going to be expected of me to pay back if I leave?
Exactly.
I'm telling you, I cannot tell you how many people I have met that have gotten into a situation where on the front end they were being propped up by increased commissions and things like that, and then if it goes south, they owe the company $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 on the back end, and they don't have it to pay back.
That's very rampant, especially in the financial services industry. It's more rampant there. I'll tell you, I had an experience with a good friend of mine quit a company, and he got a bill in the mail for a $50,000 training fee.
Right.
I mean, and then he fought it and won.
Right.
But it's just, you know, I mean, some guys would say, okay, can I pay y'all $5,000 and get this? You know what I mean? That's
Right.
what they're wanting. They want, you know, and there's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of draw. You know, they call them draws. Where okay, we're going to pay you $600 a week, and I was actually almost went to work for a company that was offering a draw. They were going to pay me $600 a week, but if I didn't write $600 a week in premium, I was going to have to pay it back at the end of 6 months.
I would be hard pressed, Bradley, to do that.
Yeah, right.
That would be something that it would weigh on me so much all the time that I think I'd have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could do that. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you, and I hope somebody listening to this or seeing this understands what I'm saying. So when I got with State Farm, when I started my career with State Farm, I remember going to the agency owner training, you know, first meeting out of the gate.
Right.
And I'm speaking to this because Gary Vaynerchuk talked a little bit about this last week in one of his podcasts. But I remember being there in a conference room with 200 people, and you had a lot of people there that were coming there from companies like Johnson & Johnson, Stryker. You know, these are companies where people are making anywhere from $150,000 to as high as $500,000 a year. And I think one of the things that's the deterrent to a lot of really good people getting into the insurance business as an agency owner is when you get used to a lifestyle where you got the $750,000 house and the new Mercedes and your wife's driving a BMW and you got 2 kids and the golden retriever puppy and $50,000 in credit card debt, the prospect of your first year with this company, don't care which company it is, you're going to maybe make $50,000, maybe, and they just can't do it.
Right.
And for me, I called it a forced opportunity because I had bottomed out in the construction business in 08 when the market just completely crashed, and I had nowhere else to go but up. So I started completely over in the insurance business, living out of a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment. And I think my first year's W-2, I have it framed at my office. I think I made $16,800 my first year. And so I was able to do that. It was, like I said, a forced opportunity. But so many people look to get into the business, and then they very quickly realize that, oh shit, I can't make $150,000 my first year, and then they're out. Then they just off the. And it's like, well, if I can't do it, I'm just not going to do it. So Do you want
I don't know what the attrition rate is for insurance agents, but it's not good.
No, it can't be. It can't be. Yeah, I think that is a huge deterrent to a lot of people trying to get into insurance business.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well. And I think people, everybody sees the insurance guy who gets to the office at 10 and leaves at 3, but they don't realize that guy's been working his ass off for 30 years or 20 years and has put in the work to do that. I mean, you have to work. It's not all peas and carrots. I mean, you have to work.
Right. No, yeah, it's not. It's not sitting around on the golf course playing 18 holes in the morning and then working a couple hours.
I'll tell you something, Scott. On that note, I know we're sort of talking about how we got in the business. I was thinking about it this morning, and a lot of people there's a lot of people that can't say this. I've wanted to be in the insurance business since I was 15 years old.
Wow.
And the reason that is the opposite of how I am now. The reason that is I was a golfer, and all the guys that I knew in my hometown of Howell, Alabama, that got to play golf all day long every day were insurance guys.
Right.
All of which I'm more successful than them now.
That's awesome.
And they're still playing golf every day.
Right.
But that was why I was like, okay, I need a job or a business that is going to allow me the freedom to do that. And so I was managing a cell phone store, and it was a horrible product, and we were selling the heck out of them. And a buddy of mine was working at Liberty National, and selling just life insurance, and he had made about $60,000 in 6 months on commission only. And I'm 21 years old. I'm like, all right, show me. So he's like, he tells me, man, I mean, if you can sell this product, you can sell insurance. So I quit that day and went to work for them. My manager at Liberty National, 6 months in, I was still trying to do the golf thing. And 6 months in, and he's still one of my good buddies today. I mean, I'll never forget this. He said, if you will put as much time into your insurance business in your golf as you do into your golf, in a few years you'll be able to play all the golf you want.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it sort of clicked about 6 months in. I fell in love with insurance, and now I hardly don't ever play golf.
Right.
Maybe once every 6 months. That's sort of how I got in. I got in. Well, I was opposite of how I am now.
Right.
I got in looking for something just to kind of get me by, so I could have the freedom and not have to work 9 to 5. But it in turn became my passion.
To that point, I'll say this. There's an old adage in the insurance business that you can work, if you'll work your ass off for 5 years, you can put it on cruise control. I don't believe, let me say this. It's not that I don't believe that. I think it just depends on what kind of agency you want.
Right.
Because if you want to have the one person in your office as a CSR and just yourself and play golf 3 or 4 days a week, then yeah, you can probably do that and make a pretty good living and put the kids through college and go that route. I call that kind of a boutique agency. If you want a $100 million insurance agency, that shit's not gonna fly. And so it just depends on what you want, I guess. And like you said, I mean, the more you feel like insurance is your purpose and kind of your life and who you are as a person, and I want to speak to that a little bit later too, about your identity as the insurance guy. I think that the harder you work and the more you do and the more you want, and so it's kind of like a little hamster wheel you get on. But I think it just depends on what you want, really. But if you're on one of these damn sales programs we just talked about, and you think you're going to play golf, you had better have your ass in that office on Saturday and Sunday, because most of these companies that have a sales program, you have requirements to meet, or you get the not so nice, you're going to be let go in 30 days letter.
Right. We're filming this the day after the 4th of July. I worked on the 3rd and the 4th.
Right.
And it's not because it's because I have to, but it's really not because I have to. It's because I want to.
Well, and yeah. And
if you know, Gary Vee says if you want to be an anomaly, you have to act like one.
Right. Right.
I mean, if you want to build the biggest insurance agency in the country, or in your state, or in your hometown, or wherever, you're going to have to act like you're running the biggest insurance agency in that town. You've got to take the steps now, because what happens if you accidentally fall into that big agency, then you're not going to know how to handle it, and you're going to fail.
And you know, you and I have talked about this before. So to our listening audience, for the agents out there watching this right now, you know, Bradley and I are in a little bit different parts of our career. I've been a nationwide principal agent. Well, that's what I am right now. What I call myself is a hybrid independent agent, because we sell nationwide, but nationwide's moving more and more towards that independent platform. Bradley is with Alpha, and so I've been doing this. This is going on my 7th year. Yeah, my 7th year with Nationwide. You've been with Alpha now for how many years did you say? 3?
5 years.
5. And I've kind of reached this level with my career where I'm still working as hard as I ever worked, but I'm on something completely different. And that is commercials, advertising, social media, podcasts, you know, that side of the business. And the sales side of the business, for me, I have really, really good people who do the sales side of my business. And if you don't think there's a separation between the two, you're wrong. There is.
And I'm sort of doing a little bit of both.
Right. You're a hybrid. You're kind of doing the social media and the sales side of things.
Well, I'm a sales guy at heart, but and what I really like to do, and I teach junior achievement classes where I go into the school and teach a class on entrepreneurship or business, and I tell these kids, you know, find what you love to do. That's what you want to do, but you don't necessarily have to do that. In other words, I love to market. I love, you know, trying to figure out how to get into the consumer's head and figuring out what the next trend is in marketing. But the marketing field is so congested and so diluted. There's so many people doing that, so much competition. My love for marketing and share that with insurance.
Right.
But at the heart of me, I'm a sales guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I still do a little bit of both.
Do you think there'll ever come a time for you when you want to be a manager and manage people rather than or that, before you answer that, do you have the self-awareness to know whether you would be good at that or not?
I think I would be good at it, but I think it would be very hard. It would depend on the role. I think it would be very hard for me to. I love doing personal branding. I absolutely love it. I think it would be hard for me to give that up if I were in a situation where I had to give that up.
Right.
So if I could do both, then yes. But right now, honestly, man, I love doing what I'm doing. You know, I look forward to going to work every day. I'm going to the office every day. Last night, I was driving down the road with my fiance, and she said, you know, you seem kind of tense. And I said, it's like I'm like a prize fighter before. You know what I mean? I can't wait to get to the office in the morning. You know, because even though I worked Monday and Tuesday, it was kind of a lax. You know, it's game on, and I've actually I can sort of sense that we're going to have a really, really good month this month. So
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait to get there. And it's honestly, it's like that every Sunday night. It's like that at the end of every holiday.
So when did you, and you may have spoke about this earlier, but when did you feel like you knew, what year, when you got in the insurance business, what year had you been in it when you were like, I got this, I can do this? Or was it 3 months, 2 years, 5, I mean, when was it?
October of 2014. October of 2014 was when. So I think I may have mentioned this in a previous show we did, but in October of 2014, I read the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, and in that year that month, I was having a great year up to that point, but I was still kind of a newbie, at least to Alpha. And in that year, or that month, I wrote more production across all lines in that month than the previous 9 months combined. And when I did that, I was thinking two things. One, okay, I can do this. And two, I've got this secret book that's giving me skills in order to do that. And I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to be fine. Because, I don't think you know this, but prior to that, the month before, I missed a bonus by $1.96 a month. Or, excuse me, $1.96 in annual premium. I missed a bonus by that. And so that just sort of gave me and I'm glad that happened. That gave me the to get in there, the oomph to get in there and get after it. And so that was at the point that I was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. Now, I've always been confident. I mean, especially starting with Alpha, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this time I'm going to do it. We're going to do it right. And, but as far as knowing for sure that this is what I'm going to do, I know how to do it, it was in that month. And honestly, every year since then, I've had fantastic Octobers.
That's awesome. Tell everybody about Grant Cardone's 10X. I know Grant's not paying us to say this, but I've never met one person that read that book that didn't, the month after, if they were in sales, just absolutely crush it.
To me, the 10X rule is the most, a lot of business and sales books, it's a lot of fluff and a couple of good points squeezed in there.
Right.
And which is understandable. I mean, if you and I were going to write a business book, that's how we would write it. That's the easy way to do it, And so the 10X rule basically gives you practical advice to use. It says if you do this, this will happen. And basically what it is in a nutshell is pick your goal. And so if your goal is just for an arbitrary number, just say $50,000 in premium, your goal actually needs to be $500,000 in premium, and you take the actions necessary to hit that $500,000, and the $50,000 would be no problem.
Right.
But what it does in turn is it increases your think of how you're thinking about it. So if I say, okay, you need to write $50,000. Wait, you know what? You need to do $500,000. $50,000 seems so small compared to that.
Right.
So it teaches you how to think the right way too, And so, and that's how all of his material is. But to me, that's the most practical sales book. I did a seminar for new agents with Alpha, and we gave everybody a copy of the 10X rule. And the message in turn was, if you don't read this, you're not going to be successful. Because, number one, we're telling you, okay, this works, and if you don't read it, that's stupid. But number two, it's such a practical book, because I think, especially in our industry, Scott, a lot of people are worried about what they're going to have next month, production-wise, or what they're going to have next year. So it's easy to sandbag, but at the same time, you don't need to be resting on your laurels. You need to get in there and get after it and do as much as you can. You need to be working towards your potential, not what some actuary in a little room at your home office determines your quota is.
I agree. And so, guys, before we continue, let's go back to what we're doing right now. My name is Scott Howell. I am the Agency Owner Insurance Evangelist for iPROTECT Insurance and Financial Services located here in Huntsville, Alabama, Athens, Alabama, Florence, Alabama, Madison, Alabama. And this is the first ever podcast ever in the history of the universe that I'm aware of. 2 insurance agents, we call ourselves the insurance guys, 4 insurance agents. So hopefully in the next few days we will have our first podcast, which this is, uploaded to SoundCloud and iTunes. And I hope you guys, if you're an insurance agent, whether you're an independent, Alpha, State Farm, doesn't matter who you're with, Allstate, whatever, this is for you. We're doing this to create value for you guys. And I think that segues into what I was about to talk about, which is, again, why are we doing this? Why are these 2 guys doing this? Why didn't somebody else do this? I think for me, it comes from a place of just not really having that many people in my life when I got it started in the insurance business that wanted to help me. And I meet people every single freaking week that want to talk to me about, hey, I want to get in the insurance business. I know there's tons of those people out there, and I know there are a lot of people that have just gotten started. I know there are people who have maybe been doing it for a couple of years and are struggling. Hell, there's agents I know that have been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years and are struggling, you know. We want to help. We want to help you guys. There's really nothing in this beyond that for us, except to make some connections with other agents out there and get some people here on our podcast via telephone that we think you guys will love to have, that we feel like are interesting and can add value to your agency. Bradley, let's talk a little bit about what we talked yesterday. Tell us again, why are we doing this? What made us want to do this?
Well, we did an interview with each other that Scott show. I'll plug it right now. Ask the Insurance Guy. Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
I asked the Insurance Guy, and we just spoke about that. There was nothing out there helping insurance agents, especially new insurance agents, and there's a lot of interesting marketing techniques that are out there that no one's utilizing, and everybody's kind of going about it the old school way, as opposed to the new way to do this. And so we just we got together and decided we wanted to help everybody out.
Well, remember first we wanted to do a podcast we talked about doing it for consumers.
Right, exactly.
And you and I both agreed that was just going to be boring as hell.
Yeah, that would get -3 viewers per episode.
Today we're going to be discussing uninsured motorists. We know you guys are going to really enjoy this. Yeah, that they could watch our podcast to help them go to sleep at night.
So, Scott, are you saying that would be like every insurance agent's social media posts ever?
Basically, yeah. No, it'd be you could just watch that on your laptop or tablet or phone instead of getting a sleep machine.
Right.
Yeah, just put that on, and 3 minutes later you're knocked out. So that we kind of took that off the table pretty quick. I do think there's an incredible niche market here because there's. Yeah. Do you know how many insurance agents and associate agents there are in the United States of America?
I have no idea.
Well, I don't either, but there's got to be a ton. Right. A ton. Hundreds of thousands, if not, I don't know, maybe million. I don't know how many. But definitely an unserved market.
There's so much content out there in sales and business, but it's extremely hard to listen to that, take it in, and then in turn that into insurance success.
Exactly.
It's very hard to take because none of it's directed towards insurance because it's a boring industry. They rather do cars, marketing, real estate, mortgage. Even mortgage brokers and bankers is a more sexy industry than we are.
I agree. I agree.
And so they would rather do that. And so that's sort of what we talked about is look, let's do something for agents by agents. And then maybe bring some of these guys in who are doing these awesome marketing techniques in insurance and outside.
Right.
And sort of tie that into how you can use that for your business. Because there are some guys out there, there's a few that come to mind now that are just doing some awesome things insurance-wise. And I'm mainly speaking to social media advertising.
Right.
And the way they run their office. But, I mean, if you think that billboards, banner ads, and direct mail is the way of the future, I want you to move to my town and compete against me.
Sitting in your office aggressively waiting on the phone to ring?
Exactly.
Yeah, those days are over. So, again, my name is Scott Howell, Insurance Evangelist, Agency Owner, iPROTECT Insurance and Financial Services. Bradley Flowers, located near Mobile, Alabama, in a little place called Saraland. And Saraland Insurance with Alpha Insurance. I want to create value for all these independent agents and these young independent agents out there too. I kind of feel like I have a unique perspective on that because I am more of a hybrid independent / exclusive now. What I mean by that, for any of you agents watching this right now, And by the way, we're live on Instagram right now too. I've been recording that for the past 10 or 15 minutes too. But you know, I sell the Nationwide product. We try to lead with the Nationwide product, but I would say with every passing week, we broker more and more and more business, and I have the ability to write directly through any carrier I want to write through, as long as I have a broker or a direct contract with that carrier on the commercial side. So, for instance, I'm a Nationwide agent who has a direct appointment with Philadelphia. So that's kind of weird. You don't see that a lot. That's not something that you know, usually if you're a State Farm agent, you sell State Farm. If you're,
right, and
you maybe have some brokered outlets, but for me, it's kind of the best of both worlds. And so that's what I do. Now, Bradley is an Alpha insurance agent, and I'm sure you guys have lots of brokered outlets as well, because that just seems to be kind of industry standard now, no matter who you're with. I'm telling you, the needle is moving more and more towards kind of that independent instead of this is all you can sell. Right. So I think if you're a young agent out there, no matter who you go with, again, if I'm in a sales program though, these are questions I got to ask somebody before I join. How much of your product do I have to sell? And do you have a competitive rate? Or I'm going to get my "you're about to get fired" letter in the mail. And so I would want to know that if you're about to become a country financial agent and y'all are about to take a 34% rate increase on homeowners and auto, and you got to sell 30 policies a month to stay in the program, well, you're about to have a big problem.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. I mean, I know, and this is pretty much the standard nationwide, but in Alabama, every insurance company in the state of Alabama took a rate increase the first quarter of this year.
That's right.
And so, I mean, I know there's a lot of people in every company that started, and then they got here, or they got there, and they're thinking, what the heck, you know?
Right.
You know, you guys just took a 28% rate increase, and you didn't tell me that before you hired me.
There you go.
And a good agent will prosper and push through that.
Right.
Especially since it's industry wide. I mean, I look at that as opportunity, but at the same time, you know, you need to know those things going in.
Right.
You need to know if you're going to be, you know, fighting Muhammad Ali or an amateur.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, and I, you know, when I started, I'm on the day that I accepted a career with Nationwide, I actually went before the board of agents at State Farm on Lakeshore Drive and was given the green light to be a State Farm agency owner. On the same day, I accepted my position with Nationwide as basically a scratch agent here in Huntsville. And that was that's one of the strangest days I think anybody's ever had in the insurance business, to get a group of agents, career agents with State Farm, give you the thumbs up that you can now be a State Farm State Farm agency owner, be put in the agency owner pool, and at the same time answer the phone and accept a job with Nationwide. That's a bizarre.
What made you do that? Without getting into.
No, I have no problem whatsoever. So I think first and foremost, the opportunity with Nationwide was up here, and yeah, I was that was a crazy day for me. I remember that well, and you know, both are great companies. With Edward Jones is a great company. In fact, from talking with some friends of mine that are with Edward Jones, some of the best training you can possibly get, I believe it's in St. Louis, Missouri.
They have the #1 training program in the world, but at the same time, it is statistically, you have a better chance of getting into Harvard than you do getting hired by Edward Jones, and they'll tell you that up front.
Yeah, I think my only knock on that, and I'm not trying to knock them, but I don't know if it's still this way or not, but I have had a few friends that had to do the whole pay back the money if you didn't make it stuff, and I'm not a big fan of that.
Right.
But I understand their corporate philosophy behind that and all the money that they're spending to train these people. But, you know, if you don't have two dimes to nickel to rub together when you start, what makes you think I'm going to have $50,000, $75,000 to pay you back if it doesn't work out?
Right.
And so, again, this goes back to this entire podcast when we started, you know, helping people make some decisions about what they're going to do. I just think it's something you got to look heavily into before you jump off that diving board into the deep end of the pool there.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So I guess to close this thing up today, man, I want to say first and foremost, thank you for being a part of this. I know it's taken a huge chunk of time out, and hopefully as we continue this every Wednesday, guys, we're going to do this every Wednesday at noon. Next week we'll have a completely different topic, and hopefully
there's going to be some real value in here, Scott. I mean, we're going to be able to really help some people out. Neither one of us have a filter. We're going to tell it like it is.
Yeah.
And you're gonna hear and know what you need to know.
Right.
Bottom line.
Without paying $5,000 to go to some crazy ass, you know, insurance, whatever.
We're not selling a training program. That's not the end goal. We're not going to try to sell you a $39.95 training program that's on sale for $99 for the next 5.5 minutes.
While we're on the end of this podcast, guys, thank you so much for joining. My name is Scott Howell. This is Mr. Bradley Flowers. We are the Insurance Guys, and this is the only podcast in the universe that I'm aware of for agents, by agents. I don't give a damn who you're with. Allstate, Nationwide, Independent, Farmers, Country Financial. I would say USSSA, or USAA, but I don't think they have agents. Geico, you know, Geico's opening up local offices now. We have one here in Madison.
Man, I talked to a Geico rep the other day. It was probably had one of the best phone voices I've ever had.
Wanting to come? Oh, Geico rep in one of their call centers?
No, one here.
Local guy. Well,
it was on a mutual client, but I was impressed. I was like, man, I didn't know, you know.
Yeah, and that's a Warren Buffett thing. I would love to know their philosophy behind that. I haven't read their annual report from this year. I try to always read his annual report because I find it just crazy interesting, and he always spends a lot of time talking about Geico because Geico is the mothership. That's what's giving him the money to buy all this other stuff.
This would be a good message to all the new insurance agents is even years ago, I'm talking 100 years ago, when people would talk about recessions and the Great Depression and all this, I can't remember who it was, but I think it was Warren Buffett, is when this country goes under, or if this country goes under, the last two businesses to go under is going to be the banks and then the insurance companies. In other words, you're in one of the most financially strong industries as far as the mothership goes that you can be in.
Right. That's exactly right. Well, man, let's talk a little bit about next week. Do you have any opinion, or do you want to go ahead and decide right now on this podcast what we want to do next week in terms of a topic of conversation?
I think we need to talk about getting started. How to get going, how to find people to write, how we did it, how we recommend doing that differently, how to get started. Because I have some very strong opinions on that subject that are going to be the opposite of what your manager is going to tell you to do.
Well,
my way teaches you how to do it the right way.
Okay. Well, let's do that then. So, guys, next week, episode 2, the Insurance Guys, for agents, by agents, we're going to be talking about getting started. How do you get started? You're now an agent. You've got your license. You're wanting to get started and get going. maybe you're a principal agent and it's just you right now, or maybe you're an associate agent and you're working for somebody. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. And man, I just appreciate you coming on today, brother.
Hey man, I'm flattered. This is awesome. I get so much energy from doing this.
I do too. I do too. Like I said, I was like a kid getting up at Christmas this morning. I was excited. So, man, have a great rest of the week. Guys, remember, rewards come from action, not discussion. We can sit here and talk all we want to, but get your ass out there and go sell something this week. Make some money for your family. Make good decisions. Make good decisions for your insurance agency, and write good business for the company that you represent. My name is Scott Howell, the insurance guy online.com. Bradley Flowers, I'm out, brother. Take care.
We were staying in Paris.
All right, see ya.
To get away from your parents, and I thought, wow, if I could take this in a shot right now, I don't think that we could work this out on the terrace. I don't know if it's fair, but I thought, how could I let you fall by yourself? Well, I'm wasted for someone else. If we